Hey there, campers, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Mark.
Oh, I'm Ian. Sorry, I thought you were going to lead me in.
Well, no, I mean, it would have made sense for me to do it, but you're already on screen. So, wow, you could tell it's been a while since we podcasted together. It's been like
Yeah, dude. It's been a
like,
while.
it's been a while. It's been like 2.5 months, something like that, something wild like that. Anyway, we got a treat for you guys today because Ian has been playing in the same Discord league that I am. And spoiler alert, this week, I got kicked out. So I've been doing my green lists, and I showcased Palpatine Green last week, and I ended up going up against a Tarkin Yellow list, which is just so aggressive and hard to
Yeah.
beat. The guy, I think he ended up in second place overall. We went 2-1, so I lost, or I went 1-2, so I won one, lost two. Anyway, it came down to a couple of games. One of those games, thumbs up for me, I was still in it. The last game, DBN here, Ian here, had to lose against the reigning champion and undefeated in season 2, and he didn't lose. You beat the reigning champ who was undefeated from season 1, who was undefeated in season 2, to clutch that top 4 spot. So congratulations, you're going to the top 4.
Thank you. Thank you. The irony here is that I'm going to play the same guy in top 4 later this week. And unlike, and I'm sure Mark has talked about the rules of the league being that you have to keep the same base color, but you can change, the deck. Unlike my opponent who changes decks every week, I think, I'm just going to play the same thing, and he knows it. So I think
So he
any
can
element of
counter you.
surprise, any element of surprise is totally out the window. But I have made some changes based on some of the data from that, match, and I'm hoping to whatever he plays have a couple, new looks for him. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at this deck that you've been playing,
Yeah.
because you're the only one who's brought Jabba the Hutt.
Right.
I think you're the only one maybe playing. I mean, green yellow is common. Green
Yeah.
yellow is common, but it's always common with Boba Fett and Flip Flop with Energy Conversion Lab. Never the green leader with the yellow base. There was sort of a deck pseudo like this. It was Emperor Yellow in set 1, but that has sort of been edged out in favor of Emperor Palpatine Green recently. So Ian, I want to go on a tour of this deck with you because I'm so interested in what made you conjure it up and what the idea is. Anybody who we have Voss down here on the screen, and they're immediately like, "What in the heck is that dude doing in a deck?" Got several cards that, I think everybody just considered to be trashed here, but you've got them in here. So take us through the list.
Yeah. So, it's funny when we were talking about the set last, like a month or two ago when it came out, I was really amped up for Cad Bane, and I do like Cad Bane. And in fact, Cad Bane was my only loss on the season. Was I lost to a Cad Bane deck, and that player is also in the top 4. So, anyways, Jabba the Hutt is really unique and arguably not that good as a leader. But the unique part means you can build around it, right? And I think that that's sort of one of the themes of this set is that there's a lot of leaders that are getting a little more experimental, and you're seeing players figuring out the best ways to use them despite how weird or unique they might seem. Things like Kira, I think, comes to mind especially.
There's a lot of leaders that are niche, that they're more tied to a specific mechanic or a specific style, whereas like you don't have as many like Sabine Wrens that are just deal a damage to both opponents' base, right? It's just like, you can put any card you want in that deck, it's not going to matter. The only card that's the leader that's like that in set 2 is the new Han, which of course you can make anything, cost 1 resource cheaper with him. You just have to play stuff with big enough butt to make it work. So, but yes, you're right. Like Jabba is a little bit more specific, build around bounties, right?
Yeah. And so there's two things about Jabba, and they don't exactly mesh, right? So Jabba's leader side, right? Obviously hands out a bounty once per turn, which opens up some of the great things. for this deck, which is its early game. And so this is a true mid-range deck, right? It wants to, if there's an aggressive deck, it fully takes on the control reign. And if there is a control deck, it needs to fully flip into, an aggressive deck as best as you can. And that can be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll get to that in a minute. And so Jabba's ability to hand out a bounty once per turn, that enables that if you claim that bounty, the next character you play costs one less. Now, obviously, we can't rely on that happening every time. And I think that there is this like instinct to be like, well, if I get the kill and then I can undercurve this thing, and sometimes it happens, and when it does, it's awesome. But most of the time, you need to think about your leader as most of the time he does nothing. But there are a few instances where he really can be useful. And there is, of course, in the lead play, Reputable Hunter. This is the best thing you can do on turn one, which is when I play, I elect to go second if I win the die roll. And the reason being is 90% of the time, your opponent is going to play a unit on the first turn. And in that case, I tap Jabba and hand it a bounty. They claim the initiative, and I drop the most stats on turn one that you'll see in the game, which is a 3/4 bounty hunter. And that play can sometimes just win me games outright, especially against things like Sabine, where they're getting down a Sabine or a Ketsu, and you get a 1-for-1 trade and live it, or I guess it's a value attack, and you live it with one defense left, and then you still have a bounty hunter on board with which to sort of continue snowballing. You can take a 2-for-1 over the next 2 turns. So like, there's a lot to love about Jabba for turning on Reputable Hunter and turning on the Hunter of the Haxian Brood. And then just to sort of skip ahead, the flip side of Jabba does something completely different, really, because Jabba as a unit asks you to, it tells you get to capture one of your enemy's non-leaders and put it underneath one of your other friendly units. So, of course, there's this weird thing where it's like, I can't just flip Jabba naked onto the board as my only unit. I have to have something already out there, and it has to be something that when I flip, I capture, and that thing won't just immediately die, which is where you'll see some of the selections. But the coolest thing about him flipping that I think people underestimate is that any unit can capture any other unit. So a space unit can capture ground, a ground can capture space. So like I've had scenarios where Salacious Crumb has captured an Avenger. Don't tell me how that works from a lore perspective, but it's happened.
If your opponent can't really interact with it, then guess what? You like if you're winning in the ground lane already, and your opponent doesn't have anything there, they don't really have any way to get their Avenger back.
Yeah. And so you'll see, based on those couple things, like with that overlap, we're basically just trying to play a lot of raw value and then build off of those two things. One, the bounty, where we have things like Reputable Hunter and Hunter of the Haxian Brood. And two, the capture. And that's where Dryden Voss comes in as the big ace of this deck. And you're looking to set up plays where you can flip Jabba on, well, hopefully your 6, because we do have the ramping package of the super laser tech and the resupply. But you're hoping to flip Jabba on your 6, capture something onto a safe unit, something that's relatively big, or preferably something with a shield. And again, we have 7th Fleet Defenders, we have Hunter of the Haxian Brood, potentially. This is more rare because usually it doesn't come up, but you might have a Zuckuss, or if you've been able to successfully use the bounty on your, I guess, turn 5 or turn 4, you can actually get Jabba's Rancor down for only 6, which can be pretty crazy. And so you will have hopefully a big unit like one of those, or a unit with shielded, so that it is not super possible for them to kill that unit before you play Dryden on your next action, which will fully turn that captured unit into a new unit that you play down yourself. So if you captured with Salacious Crumb, that Avenger, and again, this happened, captured an Avenger, opponent was tapped out on resources, and then, of course, I'm able to go Voss. and this is where I think they were ready for me to take the Avenger, and they were like okay with it because they were trying to flip, and they probably had, more stuff on the following turn, but they weren't ready for me to immediately Voss take it for
And play it.
myself.
Yeah, take it for
Yeah.
yourself.
Mm-hmm. And then of course the on deploy effect goes off, and on all that sort of good
And
stuff.
Drayden
So yeah.
is a 7 resource 5/7 himself.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to just depend on Jabba for it. So we have Relentless Pursuit and then the Discerning Veteran, I think,
Yep.
which both have the ability to capture as well. Relentless Pursuit, 3 resource. Choose a friendly unit. It captures an enemy non-leader unit that costs the same or less than the friendly unit. Unit, if it's a bounty hunter, give it a shield token, which is of course very good to then play Drayden into. Discerning Veterans, just a 5 resource 3/4 that when played captures an enemy unit. Well, it has to be a ground unit specifically. And so a couple of other ways to capture, which people have been saying capture's really no good in this game. It's probably been the least used out of the new keywords. Smuggle's obviously very popular. So is so are bounties in specific scenarios, but this is actually using capture, which I think is super thematic for Jabba the Hutt. And then I found Jabba's Rancor, because you have Jabba as a leader. This is at the very least is a 7 resource 9/9 that comes down, deals damage to something, and damage something on the enemy board. If you ramped, this thing comes down when your opponent has 6 resources. If you Jabba's ability, get it off, remove something, you can get this thing down when your opponent has 5 resources, which is just kind of game breaking. Like that's even before like Heroes Fall and stuff. Like there's just not a ton of stuff that can actually deal with this thing as a 9/9 when they have 5 resources.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the Rancor has been the surprise thing that I think people have looked at, like, oh, at cost, it's not that great. But undercosted, those stats are just a lot to deal with at a certain stage of the game. And there's also moments too where like the 3 damage you do to the opponent is a big deal. But with all the shield units in my deck, or sometimes especially following up your opponent, putting in the effort to clear your board, slamming this when you have nothing left is not a big deal. And that kind of brings me actually to one of the things about this deck that I found is it almost never has the initiative. Because you're handing the bounty out to things, and you're kind of like, you're often you're playing very reactive most of the time. And it's not just in the reactive in the sense of like you're playing overwhelming barrages or response cards, but it's reactive, I think, in the idea of like you will often have multiple things in your hand where you're like, I need them to not respond. Like, I need my opponent to not have an immediate response. That's the weakness of capture, right? Is that if you spend all of your resources capturing early in the turn and then they, immediately undo it, you've lost all of that momentum, and you've also lost all those resources for the turn. And so Jabba has to play very tiptoeing around what your opponent's things that they could play, and I imagine a better player than me would get even more value out of it, knowing what the common responses would be for each deck at each resource level. So yeah.
And then our sideboard, I could look at a couple of these things and just kind of say they make sense, right? The Relentless, or the Reinforcement Walker, you're going up against controls slotted in. Lurking TIE Phantom, just a really great card, really hard to remove, really strong if your opponent's playing a lot of space units and you're finding that you're weak against that. But Greedo and McClunky in the sideboard, talk to me about that.
Both of those started off in the deck. And both of those ended up at different stages. Greedo got replaced with Salacious Crumb pretty early, and that was mostly because against these aggressive decks, I was having a hard time doing 2 things. One, healing, and that's a challenge with this deck. You have very little healing. Salacious Crumb gets you a point, but also bounces itself back and forth. And with this deck's ability to sometimes get to have a floating resource, which is being unspent, being able to bounce Crumb, replay Crumb, get a little bit of passive healing throughout the game is kind of nice.
Some pings, remove shields, finish stuff off, stuff like that.
Exactly, yeah. And so Crumb has actually been a weirdly it's both underwhelming but also always deserving of the slot. And because there's really not a whole lot of other things for my first turn that I really want to be playing other than ideally Reputable Hunter, and then in a second scenario, maybe Salacious Crumb. Gamorrean Retainer is actually one of the MVP cards, believe it or not, because I often am trying to play it down at the end of a turn once my opponent has either claimed initiative or is like all tapped out of attacks in the ground lane. I'm trying to play it down on my turn before Jabba. So when Jabba flips, it gains Sentinel, because I'll have a green unit in play. And then when Jabba flips, I can capture something on a different unit,
Defend it with the retainer.
then defend it with the Sentinel. Yeah. But to answer your question actually about McClunky and Greedo, McClunky was ironically clunky when I was playing, mostly because Reputable Hunter does not have Underworld, which is sort of a bit of a bummer. And then you're playing these like value Imperials with the 7th Fleet Defender and the
Super laser tech.
Yeah. But the reason I left them in the sideboard, and Greedo is, I think Greedo is one of those things where, like, if I knew that I had to play up tempo every game, I would play Greedo over Salacious Crumb. Obviously, the increased attack, the ability to trade harder, right? But because I often am in situations where like the deck needs to like figure out what its opponent is doing first, sort of before you sort of dictate whether you're going to be all responsive or trying to push the tempo. I have Greedo in the sideboard, and this is sort of both an expression of the cards that I think could be in the deck all the time, but also an expression of like, if Greedo's in the deck, I'm probably pulling out some of the top end and trying to push the envelope. If like I'm playing against a very, very controlling deck, this deck can sometimes struggle to get across the finish line because it has so many reactive tools, right? So if I can take some of those reactive tools in and funnel in the TIE Phantoms, the Greedos, and potentially even the McClunkies as a way to sort of like remove things while also, being able to like push down an extra 1-drop after removing it thanks to the bounty. I think that that's like a weird, like in the early days of Yu-Gi-Oh, I played at tournaments and stuff like way back. And, with the sideboards back then, you would sometimes do these things where you'd do like full switch decks, right? Where you'd start a match playing one strategy at a certain pace, and then you trade all of the cards in and out, and you'd have like a set things that go out and a set things that go in to give a completely different look to your opponent on the second game. And this is sort of my thought there, which is like, I haven't put enough thought into like what weird 1-ofs and 2-ofs would go in for the exact matchups. But I do know the thing is like sometimes when I, cue this and I hit a control matchup, I know I'm like, man, if I had a little bit less, Rancors and Walkers, and I had a little bit more firepower in the early turns, this would be a lot easier.
Yeah, to be able to apply that pressure, opponent removes those instead of your 4 Loam and your Zuckuss later on, things like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, super cool deck. Once again, awesome that you've made it as far as you have. We're gonna play a game or two where you're gonna coach me on how to play this deck. And so, let's go ahead and go over to Carabast and play a couple of games. Oh, okay, guys, we are back, and let's get the game up here. We're going to be playing against a Bosk green list. Going to take the go second here, as Ian has told us is the best choice to go second. I will say this. I've played Bosk green, and a lot of times he also just goes second. Okay, we got the Retainer, the Haxian Brood, the Resupply,
this is a great start.
The Tech, the Maul, Reputable Hunter. We keep this, right?
Oh, for sure. This is a fantastic start.
Okay. Well, what the heck do we mulligan? Is it the Retainer and...
So I don't like... I think we mull either the Resupply or the...
Super Laser.
Super Laser. I think... in this... I think we also toss the Maul, because it's going to be a minute.
Okay.
And we have so much top end. I like keeping both 2-drops in case our opponent... like full passes or like takes the initiative right away. We can still develop something.
Okay.
So I think we toss Maul, and I'm not, this is the thing, is like Super Laser or Resupply is always tough. How up tempo do these Bosk green lists typically play?
They're usually ramp, and so their whole goal is to get a bounty out, to ramp once, get Bosk out quickly, get a bounty out, and double cash in on that price on your head.
Then I think we probably want to toss the Super Laser Tech and just Resupply.
Gives him less targets. I agree
Yeah.
with you.
Mm-hmm. And so now we have 2 options on
Oh,
2 and 2 options on 3 right now.
that's a great turn 1 there. We just throw the bounty on him, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
We just toss the bounty out there and say, hey, listen, your turn 1. Even if you have another 1-drop, we're going to just trade up on that. I did not expect to see. Okay, he passes here. Let's get the reputable hunter out and see what our the bounty hunter's quarry goes on it.
That's
He's gonna
definitely to be expected, I think.
Yeah, it's to be expected. We're gonna get and claim initiative. We can chuck into this guy and he'll have to use his ability to remove it. Which kind of sucks for us, but
yeah, and actually there's an argument for not even doing that, potentially.
okay.
Which is to
Is it to
develop
get
like a Gamorrean,
okay?
to prevent that tempo. But like we take it one turn at a time, right?
So you got
I
the
think we
7th
don't need
fleet
the
and the
7th fleet.
Zuckuss. I don't think we need 7th fleet here either. I agree with you. So
Yeah.
now the question is, do we trade in, let him get the tempo, resupply, fall really far behind, or do we try to just maintain some tempo, play this Gamorrean retainer?
Yeah, it's tough. It's sort of our advantage of being able to 2-for-1 things is being mitigated right now.
I mean, we can also just throw a bounty out on this to be able to get the Haxion out with the shield.
Yeah,
But
and
he
I
could
kind of
just
like
chuck
that
this
as a
in.
not see. I kind of like. I mean, we're gonna have something to put the bounty on either way, so I think we chuck it in first, and then
Into the base?
no. Sorry. Maybe
He's
we
going
go
to
to the
trade into
base.
this.
He's for sure gonna trade into it. Yeah, let's chuck it into the base.
Let's just take the 3 damage on base, and
Yeah.
certainly he'll trade into this, I would imagine. And then if he gets greedy and puts a second bounty out, then it's like, okay, great. For us, we guard up. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So he takes the quarry. I actually love I love this because I don't really care about space. I was going to be a little worried, right, if this was a 2 ground units we'd have to deal with, but I think here we just I think we take the resupply. I mean, we could toss the bounty
and
first
brood
and see.
or
Let's toss the bounty first and see what they do next.
okay.
Because this is again like a little bit of a burner action if you're like trying to decide between 2 plays.
Our opponent resupplies.
Okay, then we resupply.
Okay, we'll also take the resupply here. Now he is going to get the Bosk out, but this is a great situation where I'm really glad that we resupplied this super laser tech, because then we wouldn't have been able to ramp. He would have, which is bad.
Yeah.
And then he would have been able to flip his Bosk out this turn and then just crash into our super laser tech and bounty it up ahead of time. Okay, do we get rid of Crumb here?
Yeah.
Okay, just get rid of Crumb. The Zuckuss is pretty good here. I mean, it's just like it trades directly into Bosk.
Yeah, I think we start by putting a bounty out again.
Okay.
Like we're trying to figure out
what
because
he
we have
wants
2
to
plays, right? Because we could do the
more space.
More space. That's interesting. Getting a shielded Haxion Brood is tempting. Bosk, we do get the trade though with Zuckuss, so maybe we just take that.
Yeah, my worry is if we put out the Haxion Brood, he will just put a bounty on it, ping it, flip Bosk, and then just trade into it and get the double bounty value.
Yeah.
And this does just trade evenly into the Bosk here, which is great. Yep. So there's the Hunter's Quarry. He would have done exactly that. So here we just claim initiative.
Yep.
And say, go ahead, flip.
Yeah,
and
we love them to flip here.
Yep. He is going to put the damage on it. See if he decides to flip. He decides to flip, and he's going to take the 4 damage to base. We're up first here. Yeah, I don't think we're in a real bad spot at all. We get rid of these Haxion Broods. I would get rid of one of these, right?
So, I actually think it might be the guard, because what we can do here on 6 resources is do double Haxion Brood at the end of a turn. Again, the issue here is space, but we will be able to steal a space unit off of Jabba.
We just trade into the Bosk right now, right?
Yeah, I think we kind of have to.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we don't get any bounty. Oh, the overwhelming barrage going to come out? Okay, that's fine.
That's
I mean,
tough.
he
A
is
lot of
aggressing.
damage.
It's like 5 damage, but he's only getting one thing out here.
Yeah, the tough thing is he's getting the quarry, so he's getting a little buddy.
Yeah, but he only got the super laser tech here, so we're taking 8. But we are gonna flip.
And what's great here is we're getting 2 shielded units that we will be able to steal with Jabba and have a shielded unit, so it'll be hard for them to deal with.
And we can maul this turn, or we can relentless pursuit, or we can Jabba's Rancor all this round, which feels good as well.
Again, I would have loved for us to pick up an overwhelming barrage here, or a Dryden, to be honest.
Reputable hunter.
Yeah, for sure, reputable hunter.
Okay. Our opponent is first here. I think that with these aggressive things, probably the first thing that we want to do is flip Jabba and take one of these, I would guess.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
So we'll deploy, and let's just take this.
I think we take the
punishing one, right?
I'm interested. What does the punishing one do again? I can't remember.
It's a 3/4, and if an enemy upgrade, if an upgraded enemy unit is defeated, it readies, and so it has the chance to deal 6, right?
Yeah, we
and
put
that's
it on our
pretty
shielded
dangerous.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We still have the ability to. Okay, the battle tank comes down, which is interesting.
That's fine. I think we.
Do we take that?
I think. I was thinking we'd maul it and then put the damage onto Jabba, which is one of the best things you can do in this list.
Okay,
and that starts to give us some critical mass to try to close the game.
Yep. Okay, and we can probably figure that our opponent at this point, he's got nothing left. Now, the one really bad thing that we could run into is we could easily see next round, we could see the worm come down, but I think that we have enough damage on board to deal with it.
And we have a capture ready to go.
Yeah, we have a capture, but he would deal 3 damage to our base with that capture, which is not ideal. We're just going to get rid of the resupply here, I would imagine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. At
this point.
Anything little that comes out, we've got Rancor for. Again, Rancor, the damage is mitigated because you can just slap it on Jabba.
Okay, the Emperor's going to come down here. I would imagine that that's just going to be 6 damage to Maul.
Could be. Might be trying to liberate the punishing one.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's 6 damage to one thing, and so it would just remove the shield. You can't divide it? No, you cannot. It's just deal 6 damage, divided. Oh, divided as you choose among enemy units. It is, but he decides to go ahead and remove that. Right now, we can't capture this. We could trade in with the Haxion and then Jabba's Rancor to remove it.
Yes, we should do that. I'm thinking. I'm kind of thinking we go like Rancor first, because for the life of me, I get mixed up on things. I just want to double check something. If we go Jabba, or if we go the Rancor first, then if they do another action, we could potentially claim initiative and then relentless.
Okay, let's try that.
So it gives us flexible options.
So do we trade in the shielded one and bump the shield off to keep damage on the board, or do we trade in the non-shielded one?
I think we do the shielded one at this stage, because the punishing one, I think we just we're taking the risk in exchange for the higher reward. So we throw everything at it, and then we know that unless they can block,
they got to be able to block a good bit here, and we do have the Voss in hand now, which is good for us.
It's pretty nice to be able to take something, and we actually,
at this point, playing a dragon is actually just straight loss for him. So I'm assuming he's probably not going to do that. I don't think that there's any way for him to get 9 damage from hand here. So it feels like it felt narrow, but it feels like we've turned the game. It feels like we might have turned the game here.
Yeah. I think.
Timely intervention is.
Okay. Gets a sentinel down. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. The sentinel comes down. Do we just capture this? Or do we just remove it and say we don't need to? I think we just remove it, right? And then we
just remove it.
Yeah, so we just remove it here.
leave options to capture another thing that comes down potentially.
Yeah.
Because again, like that's the scary thing, right?
Oh, the overwhelming barrage comes down here, which is going to clear enough stuff in this scenario to prevent him from dying this turn, which is wild, but it is.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
And I think that do we take the tack with the Rancor here and then claim initiative?
Well, yeah, I think if we attack with the Rancor, they have to claim initiative because they have to find a answer.
Yeah, that's true.
Because if they swing, we claim initiative and win. So they're forced to claim initiative here, and then
which saves us 5 damage, which is great.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
There it is. Our opponent claims initiative. I think that we can Zuckuss. We can Zuckuss and put out Relentless Pursuit and steal something here.
Well, again, I always have to double check all these cards. Yeah, we can Zuckuss because we can steal a space unit with the Relentless Pursuit.
Yeah, let's just take the 3/4.
Yeah, we want the Sentinel. Oh, I was going to say we want the Sentinel because we could Voss and put a Sentinel over there.
That's true. That was true. But in this guy, I just kind of, I guess, 3 damage.
Probably doesn't matter.
Probably doesn't matter. Our opponent's at 1 health. We got 2 things on the board. He's probably pretty frustrated. He already said, "Would you please go faster?" And there it is. There's the first win.
Sorry,
that felt good.
We can't go fast. It's for content.
Yeah, it's for content. Okay, well, hey guys, that was the first game. Let's try to get one more in here, in, and see if we can't get another win in with this awesome Jabba deck. Okay, guys, here we go for game 2. This one we're excited about. We're going to go ahead and pull it up here. This is Sabine Green, and yeah, we're going to get to go second, which is exactly what we would want here. Now, this is interesting. We have the Reputable Hunter and the Resupply, but we also have, in the 7th league, we also have 2 Dryden and Relentless Pursuit. Do we keep this just because Reputable Hunter's this good in this matchup?
Yes, it's incredible in this matchup, and as is the Resupply, and honestly the Relentless Pursuit, weirdly enough. So, like, I think we're resourcing a Dryden and a 7th fleet.
Do we want to resource both Drydens? I mean, is there a time that we really need it?
Yes, because there are the ECL Wrecker turn. Being able to steal the Wrecker if we have like a space unit or something, like that's where this matchup can be lost.
Okay.
So
he's going to take turn 1 and deal damage. Do we just pass here?
Yeah. I mean, because if they don't play something, we're cool with them not playing something.
Okay, we'll just pass here. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's a net benefit for us if they play nothing. Very likely that they're going to choose to play nothing on turn 1, which is wild.
We take those, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we picked up the Zuckuss and the Jabba's Rancor here. We got a lot of endgame sitting here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are we resourcing here?
It's tough. Like weirdly, like I would love to have picked up like a Forlom or something like that, or an Overwhelming Barrage, because then you can kind of like feel it out. Let's see. We're gonna resource something, go to 3. We're gonna skip probably with Resupply and go straight to 5. I'm thinking the Relentless Pursuit.
Okay.
Because like again, and maybe this is my inexperience in this game, but I love to be able to like have multiple lines ready to go.
Okay, the red 3 comes down. Are we doing the Resupply here?
I think we do the Resupply here. I think they're a turn behind, and we love that for ourselves.
Okay, he's going to take initiative here and not even take the 1 damage from Sabine, which is another interesting play.
Yeah, I mean, must have missed 2, or must have missed a turn 1 play and is like scrambling.
Maybe this deck almost can't miss the turn 1 play. I'm just thinking he doesn't know what we're doing. I think we have to get rid of one of the 2 Jabba's Rancors here.
Agreed. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And for me, he puts out Sabine this turn. We put out the Zuckuss and take initiative.
Yep.
Okay, he's going to start taking lots of damage on our base.
Fleet Lieutenant, yeah.
So we take the Zuckuss out?
Yeah, we roll out the Zuckuss for sure.
Okay, we know that the Sabine is going to take a damage to our base, and then he's going to flip and deal a bunch of damage to us.
Mm-hmm. What's nice here is next turn we actually can do the Rancor, almost certainly. Because since we know Sabine almost always goes to the face, we can put a bounty slow play the turn, take a little bit of immediate damage, and then flip the Rancor, which is really nice.
Our opponent is trying to decide what to do here. Wonder if my opponent's thinking about continuing to slow play this game. He is, and takes initiative.
I mean, great.
I think that's just good for us. Oh, we get the Forloam here. Do we actually resource the Super Laser Tech here?
Oh, yeah. The Super Laser Tech and the Rep Hunter are, like, not relevant anymore. Maybe the Rep Hunter could, like, fill curve, potentially, but, like, at this stage, us having the Forlom pickup is huge. Also being able to pair it with the Surprise Strike to, like, potentially fix math. We've got the ability to, like, if we want, throw a bounty on something, trade with Zuckuss.
Do we just Zuckuss into this, or do we actually put a bounty out on it?
No, I think we Forlom into the Fleet Defender and save the Zuckuss. Or I guess it might be one half dozen of the other, but I'm just thinking save the stats.
No, I think this was smart. I think this was the right play, because we can even pause a turn here and put a bounty out in order to get the Reputable Hunter, and allows us to stall with Zuckuss multiple turns here to see what our opponent wants to do. Because basically we want this Zuckuss here to remove the Sabine whenever she does come down. That way he can't hit her with like the Dark Saber or anything.
I'm also just thinking about like the ECL Wrecker and like wanting to preserve stats on things so he can't clean both things without dying.
Here is the ECL Poe coming out. I guess that's not a huge surprise. Our opponent's probably going to discard a couple of cards to try to remove this Zuckuss, I would think.
Yeah.
Yep, there we go. He gets the deal 2 damage to unit, defeat an upgrade, an opponent's card, discard. So it looks like he's going to probably just ambush in and remove our Zuckuss, which totally makes sense here.
Mm-hmm. It's the play that I think our opponent kind of had to make.
Yep. He deals 2 damage here, which doesn't make much sense because he doesn't actually need to deal the 2 damage here. But
unless he's trying to live by trading into Forlom.
Chooses not to. I think that we just put a bounty over here so that we can get the Reputable Hunter out this round.
100%.
Okay. We figure now Sabine has to come out. Like that would just, it would be absurd if Sabine did not come out.
One would think. Honestly, the amount of like us having only taken 9 damage to this stage of the game is ridiculously good.
Yeah, we're in a pretty good spot. We actually have the ability.
If we lose this.
Yeah. Okay. He's going to take the damage. We'll put out the Reputable Hunter. He's probably going to release Sabine here, and we're just going to. Right. I think we just take initiative. We don't have anything else to do.
Yep.
Claim initiative. I know our opponent could pull out some crazy damage here, but I don't think it's likely. We're literally flipping this round. Okay, we got the Maul and the Overwhelming Barrage here.
Yeah, okay, let's see. On 7, we have the flip into the Jabba, though that doesn't actually solve the Sabine problem, so I think we're probably waiting on the flip plus Dryden. I think we're resource. I don't really want to resource any of this. I think we have to resource Surprise Strike.
The only thing is, if we resource, we can Surprise Strike and Overwhelming Barrage this turn. So if we resource something else, we can Surprise Strike, remove the Sabine with a Reputable Hunter, and then also still be able to Overwhelming Barrage if we need to.
Yeah, but I think we just would rather Maul in that scenario to keep stats on board, right? Like,
okay.
I think it's a Surprise Strike.
Okay, we'll go with that, and we're just gonna 100% Maul into this turn 1, correct?
Yeah.
We just cannot take any more damage here.
And we pass the damage to the Reputable Hunter, so...
it has to go to Forlom here, so I think we don't pass it.
We don't pass it then.
I think we just remove.
Like, see, this is like Reputable Hunter would be so gross if it had Underworld.
Ugh. If it had Underworld, it would be even better. Yes, it would be really so ridiculous.
Helpful. Yeah, because then McClunky would be way more like enticing, but like there's a reason it's in the sideboard.
And I mean, theoretically, depending on what he does here, we can like if he gets the Wrecker comes out, I think we just steal the Wrecker, don't we?
Yeah, right now we steal the Wrecker when they're on no, and we put it under Maul.
Maul.
Yeah, I mean it's the same amount of defense. I'm thinking.
I think we just put it under the Maul. I think he's going to have a hard time coming
Yeah.
back and dealing with that. He doesn't really have anything else on board. Next turn, we can Overwhelming Barrage. We can also just play Dryden to get him.
Yeah, and then we get to use the deploy effect from Wrecker.
Yeah, that's true. Can Wrecker deal damage? It's only to a ground unit.
Mm-hmm. But they're gonna get the first opportunity to play something here, so like
that's true.
And like again,
okay, easy resource here with the super laser tech.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like is if he starts going like hard and fast in the space lane.
I think we outpace him if he does that. I think because when we play Wrecker and Dryden, we have so much damage. We're going to be able to pump 12 into the face here. I mean, that's almost lethal right there.
That's true. Do we just Dryden and remove this?
Just 3. Yeah. We Dryden. We play Wrecker.
So when Dryden comes out, choose a cat. Okay, we choose this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little awkward
fine.
on Carabast.
Choose that, and
ordering
then,
doesn't matter. And then
it doesn't look like we were able to actually do the thing. Yeah, we couldn't actually use his ability when he came in. So do we remove him and pass the damage off to the Dryden here?
It's a bit odd. Yeah, well, we definitely actually
pop the shield on the Dryden.
Yeah, there's we'll take 3 to the face. They're down to 2. I'm just debating whether we should swing face. I think we just swing face, right? Because like, let's say they go 6 into our face next turn, we're good. I think we just swing face and we win the game.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned with. I mean,
if they develop something big, like if they keep passing back and forth.
So I think this definitely is just. we can make something 2 less to play, so we could theoretically make our reputable hunter playable this turn if we put a bounty on, but you're thinking just 2 damage to the base.
Well, so actually, there's an interesting line here where like we could put the bounty on the Battlefield Marine and then run Maul into it. Maul lives. We pass 4 damage over, puts them at 16, but I want to put them at 1 damage worth of attack. So I do think we just swing both. And that would get, because we don't have a Sentinel. If we had like a Gamorrean guard locked and loaded in our hand ready to drop off of the bounty, like I'd feel like way better about that.
Yeah, we just got to be out of range of basically the 4 damage from Forakaz, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Our opponent just claims initiative here.
Yeah, I mean, we have 2 overwhelm units to swing and finish.
Yeah, and then I think we just pass here. I mean, he is not within 1 attack, but...
Well, no, he's on ECL, so has only 20.
Oh, yes, he is within 1 attack. I'm thinking he has 30 life. He definitely does not. There's no Sentinels in this deck. I think this is... I think we're at a point where, it's pretty hard for us to lose from this position. His ECL is used... sure, we just get rid of this.
Rep Hunter, probably. I mean, we want the Relentless in hand just in case something weird happens, I think.
Yeah. Okay, he's going to take the 6 damage on our base here, I think.
And then
we
win.
Yeah, that's it. That's game. I mean, he can take 6 damage on the Maul here. He can take 6 damage on the Wrecker and deal 3 damage to base here, but it doesn't really matter. It's GG here. We just take the damage to base. We're not going to take any damage anywhere else. There it is. That's 2 wins back to back, boys.
Let's go.
And the interesting thing is that is 2 wins against 2 very different decks. That first one being the Boss, the one sort of like mid-range ramp that we were just sort of able to navigate and end up winning. And then against the premier, most aggressive, most dangerous deck in the format right now in Sabine Green. So fun deck, man. Fun deck.
Yeah, man. It's a blast. Interestingly, against that Sabine deck, I think that Sabine had some clunky draws there, but like weirdly, the best thing we could have done, which is the turn 1 reputable hunter, basically 2-for-1ing whatever they play. We didn't even get to showcase that, because I think that is truly where this deck, has a advantage against Sabine, is being able to get that ridiculous stat body, and know that if Sabine isn't, taking at least 1-for-1 trades or just slamming into face, right? And we're able to get a 2-for-1 trade off of a reputable hunter, which buys us time to ramp. Like that's the dream. And so, them having to pass turn 1 weirdly stopped us from showcasing that. But I do think it's like a relatively favored match for this deck, at least in my experience. So
Yeah, super fun. Well, dude, awesome deck. Thanks for letting us, thanks for coaching me on it. And thanks for, I just like not being the only one doing Star Wars content. So that's great too. That's great too.
I've got it built in paper right now. It's like right here.
Oh, okay. There you go.
And I'll say this, for a Star Wars deck, it's pretty darn cheap.
Yes,
I think it's like $60 to $65, like all said and done.
It might be less than that now, even, because a lot of the cards are set too, and a lot of those have gone down in price.
Yeah,
like,
it's literally
most of those cards are 10 cents to 25 cents a pop.
The only thing that's worth money in here really is the Dryden's, the Mauls, and I guess at this point probably the Overwhelming Barrage and the one Traitorous. But the one Traitorous is a tech card. You don't need it. You don't even need 3 Mauls. If you only had 2, you could get away with it. I think you.
And Maul's down to like $4 now. Maul's down to like $4. A Traitorous is down to like $3.50, $4. Yeah. All of the cards in that deck are pretty inexpensive. It reminds me a lot of the green-yellow, very similar, green-yellow villainy with the Tarkin with the triple Dark Raid. That deck is also extremely cheap to make and really fun.
Even cheaper, arguably.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It might even be cheaper. Well, the good news is, guys, I'll be able to be freed from making deck tech videos on just green bases now, and I'll be able to make some decks with whatever color bases that I want to. So I'm going to get to experimenting and getting ready. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you know when we're putting new stuff out. If you like Lorcana or Pokemon, we also got lots of Lorcana and Pokemon content out there. And I try to put out one new deck video or one new video for Star Wars every Wednesday. So if you'd like to check that out, once again, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Thanks for tuning into this video, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.